Right guys, the Championship starting this weekend now, so let's talk about Championship predictions and let's go through some results. For Birmingham and Ipswich, both joining back to Championship from one way or the other, I think are going to have a very, very exciting comeback for both of them, and they're both not going to want to slip up easily. Charlton beat Watford in the first game. We're going to have Coventry beating Hull, and then Southampton showing Wrexham to the league. I'll show them which way it is. Edwards helping Middlesbrough beat Swansea, and Norwich drawing Millwall in the opening game week. We're going to have Portsmouth actually beating Oxford there. QPR drawing Preston. We're going to have Stoke being beat by Derby. West Brom and Blackburn drawing. We're going to have Sheffield United on the first game week getting beat by Bristol City is a huge one there. And then Leicester beating Sheffield Wednesday 2-0. Good start for some teams. We're going to have Coventry and Derby drawing 1-1 in the first game in that second game week there. Portsmouth beating Norwich. We're going to have Wrexham drawing more games. Blackburn beating Birmingham. Up and down starts here. Bristol beating Charlton. Millwall beating Borough. We're going to have Leicester beating Preston. We're going to have Wednesday and Stoke drawing. We're going to have Swansea getting beaten in the second week there by Sheffield United as they pick up a bit more form for themselves. Watford beaten by QPR. Going to have Ipswich beating Southampton very easily there, and then Hull beating Oxford. That's fair. I think that is fair so far. Derby beating Bristol. We're going to have Hull drawing with Blackburn. You know, it's just can't pull them apart. Swansea beating Watford there. Birmingham beating Oxford. We're going to have Charlton beaten by Leicester. Coventry beating QPR. Norwich and Borough in a big draw. Preston beaten by Ipswich. We're going to have Sheffield United beating Millwall. Southampton beating Stoke. West Brom beating them, and then Wrexham getting their first win on the board with a 3-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday, finding their feet. Leicester beating Birmingham. Middlesbrough drawing with Sheffield United. Stoke against West Brom. Stoke being beat by West Brom. Blackburn getting beat by Norwich. Bristol beating Hull. Ipswich beating Derby. Millwall beating Wrexham. I think that's fine. Coventry beating Oxford. Portsmouth beating Preston. QPR beating Charlton. Wednesday beaten by Swansea, and then Watford beating Southampton in a big shocker one there. 2-2 between Ipswich and Sheffield United. Charlton drawing with Millwall as well. Oxford beating Leicester in a surprise win there. Preston drawing with Borough. Coventry beating there we go, 2-0. Wednesday beaten by Bristol. We're going to have Stoke getting beat by Birmingham. We're going to have Swansea beating Hull. We're going to have Watford beating Blackburn. West Brom drawing with Derby, and then Wrexham beating QPR. Another win on the board for them. And then Southampton drawing with Portsmouth in their Southside derby there. Middlesbrough drawing with West Brom. A lot of draws happening there. Birmingham beating Swansea. Coventry beating Leicester. That's a big one. That is a big one. QPR beating Stoke. We're going to have Blackburn beaten by Ipswich. Derby beating Preston. Hull beaten by Southampton. Norwich beating Wrexham. Portsmouth beating Wednesday. Yeah, I think that's fair. And Sheffield United beating Charlton. Bristol City beating Oxford, and then Millwall and Watford drawing 1-1. I'll get to game week 10, and that's when we're going to update ourselves again, because West Brom beating Leicester, Coventry beating Birmingham, Swansea and Millwall, with Millwall in that game. Wrexham beating Derby. Charlton drawing with Blackburn. We're going to have Ipswich beating Portsmouth. Oxford beaten by and then we're going to have a 2-0 win there for Bristol as they push their way through. Wednesday beating QPR. Southampton drawing with Middlesbrough. Stoke beating Norwich, and then Watford drawing with Hull. So we're getting there. Birmingham beating Sheffield Wednesday 2-0. Blackburn and Swansea. Blackburn winning that game. We're going to have Bristol drawing with Ipswich, making them drop more points. Derby beating Charlton. Hull and Preston in a 2-2 draw. Leicester drawing with Wrexham. Middlesbrough beating Stoke. Sheffield United beating Southampton. Millwall drawing with Coventry. Norwich beating West Brom. Portsmouth beating Watford, and QPR beating Oxford there. 2 more games and we'll see where we're at. Blackburn beating Stoke, Bristol beating QPR, Derby and Southampton drawing, Hull getting beat by Sheffield United, Ipswich beating Norwich, Millwall beating West Brom, Portsmouth drawing with Middlesbrough, Preston beating Charlton, Sheffield Wednesday beaten by Coventry, Swansea getting beat by Leicester, Watford in a 3-3 draw with Oxford, and then Wrexham beating Birmingham. This is first so far. Birmingham beating Hull, Charlton drawing with Sheffield Wednesday, Coventry beating Blackburn, Leicester beating Portsmouth. We're going to have Middlesbrough getting beat by Ipswich, Norwich and Bristol drawing, Oxford beating Derby, QPR drawing with Millwall, Sheffield United beating Watford, Southampton beating Swansea, Wrexham beating Stoke, and West Brom beating Preston. Game week 10 calculator, and Coventry out top of the table without a loss on the board so far, 26 points. Ipswich up there as well. Sheffield United, Bristol, Leicester and Wrexham make it into the playoff spots alongside a Millwall, Portsmouth, Birmingham. You know, as we go down the table, Southampton there, Derby on 15 points. The relegation zone is Hull, Wednesday and Stoke. All have wins on the board, but Stoke really having a poor season right now. Charlton just outside the relegation zone, Preston pretty close to it as well. Oxford, Swansea, 10 games in. I mean, a lot can change in the season. A lot can still change in the season. A lot will change in the season, but that's how it's going so far. As Blackburn get beat by Sheffield United, Bristol drawing with Southampton, Derby drawing with Norwich. We're going to have Hull getting beat by Leicester, Ipswich beating Charlton, Stoke getting beat by Millwall there, and then Portsmouth drawing with Coventry. We're going to have Preston beating Birmingham, Sheffield Wednesday drawing with Borough, Swansea beating QPR, Watford and West Brom drawing, and Wrexham winning their next game against Oxford. There, they're making their push what they can. Blackburn beaten by Southampton, Bristol beating Birmingham, Coventry winning another game there as they continue on their path. Only 6 goals conceded for them so far in the year as well, which is crazy stuff. Derby and their against QPR, Hull and Charlton drawing, Ipswich beating West Brom, Middlesbrough beating Wrexham, Millwall beating Leicester. We're going to have Portsmouth beating Stoke, Preston getting beat by Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday then beating Oxford, and Swansea beating Norwich. It's going well so far. It is going well so far. Birmingham beating Portsmouth. We're going to Charlton and Swansea drawing, Leicester beating Blackburn, Norwich beating Hull, Oxford beating Millwall, QPR getting beat by Ipswich, Sheffield United beating Derby, Southampton beating Preston, Stoke drawing with Bristol. We're going to have Watford beating Borough, West Brom beating Sheffield Wednesday, and then Wrexham and Coventry 1-0 to Coventry there. Game at 15 we'll calculate again and see where we're at. Birmingham 2-2 draw with Millwall, Bristol beating Blackburn, Charlton beating West Brom in a huge one there. Coventry and actually no, it's going to be 1-0 to Sheffield United. That's the first loss of the season for them. Derby beating Hull, Ipswich beating Watford. I think Ipswich will be now top of the league as Leicester beating Middlesbrough. Oxford getting beat by Stoke. We're going to have Portsmouth and Wrexham drawing. We're going to have Preston drawing with Swansea, and then QPR drawing with Southampton, and Wednesday getting beat by Norwich. One more game we can calculate where we're at, because Blackburn beating Derby is a big one there for them there. Hull drawing with Portsmouth, Middlesbrough beating Birmingham, Millwall beating Preston. A 3-3 game between Norwich and Leicester. Sheffield United beating QPR, Southampton beating Wednesday, Stoke still getting beat there, Swansea getting beat as well, Watford and Bristol drawing, West Brom beating Oxford, and then Wrexham winning their game against Charlton. 15 games in, Ipswich on top of the league with still no loss on the board, 39 points for them. Sheffield United on 38 points, Coventry still not far behind, Bristol are up there still, Leicester and Millwall, Southampton, Wrexham and West Brom sit outside just Portsmouth as well. The relegation zone is Wednesday, Stoke and Hull still. It's still close down there, you know, it's still, you know, what, 30 points between top of the table after 15 games. I mean, that's 10 wins to be fair. It's quite a bit, but we'll see where we get, because Birmingham beating Norwich is a huge one. Bristol beating Swansea. We're going to have Charlton drawing with Southampton there. Coventry drawing with West Brom. Derby beating Watford. Ipswich beating Wrexham. Leicester beating Stoke. Oxford beating Middlesbrough. Portsmouth and Millwall drawing. Preston beating Blackburn. QPR beating Hull. And then Wednesday with a thumping from their neighbour Sheffield United. Hull now, once again, they're still getting beat. Middlesbrough beating Coventry though, another loss for Coventry. We'll see where it takes them. Millwall beating Wednesday. Sheffield United beating Portsmouth. Southampton beating Leicester. Stoke beating Charlton there, yeah, I think that's fair. Swansea then beating Derby. Watford and Preston, yeah, Watford win the game. Blackburn beating at home to QPR. Norwich drawing with Oxford. West Brom beating Birmingham. And Wrexham drawing with Bristol. I think these are all fair so far. We are fair. Birmingham beating Watford. Coventry beating Charlton. Leicester beaten by Sheffield United. Middlesbrough drawing with Derby. Millwall beaten by Southampton. Norwich drawing with QPR, because these are teams where it's hard to like separate them quite a bit. Portsmouth beating Bristol. Sheffield Wednesday drawing with Preston. Stoke beating Hull. Stoke getting a few more wins on the board now, helping them out a lot. And then Wrexham beating Blackburn. Blackburn coming to the next game week though, and they win their game against Wednesday. Bristol drawing with Millwall. And a few more draws on the board here, you know, they're happening. Charlton beaten by Portsmouth. We're going to have Derby beating Leicester. We're going to have Hull drawing with Middlesbrough. We're going to have Ipswich beating Coventry, but only just. Preston getting beat by Wrexham. QPR drawing with West Brom. Sheffield United beating Stoke. And then Southampton beating Birmingham. As Swansea and Oxford draw. And then Watford beating Norwich. So we get to game week 23. That's when we'll calculate again in game 23. We'll see where we're at with that one. Blackburn beating Oxford. As Charlton drawing Middlesbrough. We're going to have Preston getting beat by Coventry. Just. QPR and Birmingham. QPR win that one, and Sheffield United win their game against Norwich there. Southampton beating West Brom. Swansea 1-1 against Portsmouth. Watford drawing with their game as well. Bristol beating Leicester. Derby drawing with Millwall. Hull and Wrexham drawing, and then Ipswich beating Stoke. You know, Ipswich continue to win their games. That's what they've got to do. Birmingham beating Charlton. Coventry beating Bristol, and then Leicester win their game against Ipswich, which they needed to do. 2-1 there for Middlesbrough. Millwall beating Hull 2-0 as Norwich and Southampton draw. Oxford beat Preston. Portsmouth beat Blackburn. Derby and Sheffield Wednesday draw. 2-2 draw between them two. A 0-0 draw between West Brom and Sheffield United, and then Wrexham win their game. 2 more game weeks to go as Blackburn beaten by Millwall. Bristol drawing with Middlesbrough. Charlton beating Oxford. Derby drawing with Portsmouth. Hull beaten by West Brom. Ipswich win their games Wednesday. Preston beaten at home by Norwich. QPR drawing with Leicester. Sheffield United beating Birmingham, not too many issues there. Southampton drawing with Coventry. Southampton beating Coventry. Swansea get the win over Wrexham, and then Stoke winning a game away from home. One more game we can calculate where we're at, as Birmingham draw 2-2 with Derby. Coventry beating Swansea. Leicester beating Watford. Middlesbrough beating Blackburn. Millwall beating Ipswich. Norwich just beating Charlton. Oxford losing their game. QPR winning their game against Portsmouth. We're going to have Wednesday and Hull draw. We're going to have Stoke beating Preston. I'm going to have West Brom beaten by Bristol, and a 4-2 win for Sheffield United. They're halfway through the season. Sheffield United now top of the table on 60 points. Is insane. Is insane what they're doing right now. I don't think they're going to keep it up, but they are on for a points record. Jesus Christ, I just realised. Ipswich not far behind as well for 7 points. And the rest of the table kind of like equals itself out. Hull still on 11 points, 1 win after 23 games is insane. Sheffield Wednesday on the same. Quite a few teams down here on low points. Stoke just outside of relegation on too far as well. Blackburn, Watford. Like a lot can change in the second half of the season, as Millwall, Bristol, Southampton and Coventry all in the playoff spots right now. Going into the second half, Southampton win their game against Birmingham. Coventry beating Ipswich means they drop off a bit more. Leicester beating Derby. Middlesbrough going to draw with Hull. We're going to have Millwall beating Bristol. Norwich and Watford draw. We're going to have Oxford beating Swansea. Portsmouth drawing with Charlton. Sheffield Wednesday beating Blackburn. We're going to have Stoke, and we're going to get calculated again in gimmick 30, by the way. Stoke getting beat by Sheffield United. West Brom drawing with QPR, and then Wrexham winning their game against Preston. Blackburn getting beat by Wrexham. We're going to have Bristol beating Portsmouth. And we're going to have Coventry draw with Charlton. Derby beating Middlesbrough. Hull beating Stoke. Be huge for them, that. As a nice little Christmas present. New Year's. Welcome into the year type of thing. Preston then beating Sheffield Wednesday. QPR beaten by Norwich. Sheffield United beating Leicester. There's nothing really stopping them right now. As Southampton beat Millwall. Swansea draw with West Brom. And then Watford beating Birmingham. Birmingham then the next game beating Coventry, and it's a powerful game for them, isn't it? Powerful game. Blackburn and Charlton drawing. Bristol beating Preston. We're going to have Derby drawing with Wrexham. We're going to have Hull beating Watford. Bit of survival here, bit of survival play. Leicester beating West Brom, see what they can do to catch up. Middlesbrough and Southampton drawing. Millwall drawing with Swansea. We're going to have Norwich beating Stoke. We're going to have Portsmouth being beat by Ipswich. QPR against Sheffield Wednesday with a 2-0 win there, and then Sheffield United winning their game 2-0 as well. They're going strong in the season, tell you now. Charlton and Sheffield United draw though, and then Coventry keep their doors open for what could happen for them. Oxford beating Bristol. Preston beating Derby. Wednesday beating Portsmouth. Southampton beating Hull. Stoke and QPR 1-1. Swansea beating Birmingham. Watford beating Millwall, and then West Brom drawing Middlesbrough, and then Wrexham beating Norwich. Coventry win their next game. Ipswich win their next game. Oxford win their game against QPR. Preston beating Hull. Wednesday beating Birmingham. Swansea beating Blackburn. We're going to have West Brom and Norwich draw 2-2. We're going to have Wrexham beating Leicester. Huge game that. Charlton beating Derby. Southampton finally getting a result against Sheffield United, putting another loss on their board, and then Stoke beating Middlesbrough, and then Watford and Portsmouth drawing. Birmingham then beat Stoke. Blackburn then get beat by Watford at home. Bristol beating Sheffield Wednesday. Derby beaten by West Brom. Hull beating Swansea. We're going to have Leicester beating Oxford. Middlesbrough beating Preston there. We're going to have Millwall just beating Charlton. 2-2 between Norwich and Coventry. Portsmouth drawing with Southampton. QPR beating Wrexham, and Ipswich winning away from home there. Another loss on the board, another push for Ipswich. Blackburn beating Hull. Bristol beating Derby. Going to have Ipswich beating Preston, and another win there for Leicester. Middlesbrough winning at home. Millwall and Sheffield drawing. Oxford beating Birmingham. We're going to have Portsmouth drawing. Now getting beat by West Brom. QPR and Coventry drawing. Wednesday getting beat by Wrexham. Stoke getting beat by Southampton, and then Watford beating Swansea. 30 games in, Ipswich on top of the table on 75 points. A points record is on the cards here, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a huge gap between Ipswich and Sheffield versus what Southampton, Coventry, Bristol are all on. Wrexham still making their push for some playoffs. It's down to relegation zone. It's now looking a bit healthier in the relegation zone. All of 20 points with 16 games to go. Charlton, Stoke, Blackburn, all still down there in the relegation zone. Oxford just above it. but it's a lot to fight for. Preston actually on 6 wins. It's just, you know, Charlton only on 4 wins, which is the least in the league, but they've got a lot of draws in there, backing them to see what they can do. Yeah, Ipswich on top of the league, and we'll see what's going to happen in the final 16 games of the season. Obviously, still a lot of points on the cards to go for. Let's see where we go in game week 31. And it's going to start with a Birmingham draw with Leicester. Charlton getting another win on the board for the year. Coventry then beating Oxford, I think it's fair. Derby getting beat by Ipswich, which is still fair. Hull beating Bristol as they try and make their push out of the relegation zone. Norwich beating Blackburn. We're going to have Preston drawing with Portsmouth. Sheffield United drawing Middlesbrough. We're going to have Southampton beating Watford. We're going to have Swansea beating Sheffield Wednesday, and then West Brom beating Stoke, and then we're going to have Wrexham beating Millwall as they make the push. That's what all they've got to do, guys, to make their push. Birmingham beating West Brom. Bristol drawing with Wrexham. Charlton winning another game against Stoke there. Coventry beating Middlesbrough. Derby drawing with Swansea. Ipswich beating Hull. Leicester beating Southampton. Oxford drawing with Norwich. We're going to have Portsmouth get a win against Sheffield United there. I think that gets a bit bigger. Preston drawing with Watford. QPR beating Blackburn, and then Wednesday beating Millwall. I think these are all fair results so far. Blackburn, another win on the board for them as they beat Preston. Hull drawing with QPR. Middlesbrough beating Oxford. We're going to have Millwall beating Portsmouth. Norwich drawing with Birmingham. Yeah, Sheffield United beating Wednesday by a margin and a half, 2-0 for Southampton against Charlton. Stoke getting beat by Leicester. Swansea beating Bristol. Watford drawing with Derby. West Brom beating Coventry there. Wrexham getting a draw against Ipswich as they, see what they can do there. Hull beating Derby, big for them. Middlesbrough drawing with Leicester. Southampton beating QPR. Stoke beating Oxford. Preston winning away from home there. Watford not getting the result they need. Yeah, another draw for Wrexham, and Blackburn drawing with Bristol, not what they want to see either. Millwall beating Birmingham. Norwich beating Wednesday, and a 1-1 draw between United and Coventry there. Birmingham drawing Middlesbrough. Bristol beating Watford. Charlton beaten by Wrexham. Coventry beating Stoke. Derby beating Blackburn. This was beating Swansea there. Norwich getting beat by Leicester. Oxford getting beat by West Brom. Hull drawing there. Millwall losing that game. QPR winning that game against Sheffield United, and then Wednesday getting a result against Southampton, which is big for them. One more game we can calculate where we're at as a Blackburn Portsmouth 2-2 draw. Coventry getting beat by Bristol. Charlton getting beat by Birmingham. Derby beating Wednesday. Hull drawing with Millwall. We're going to have Ipswich beating Leicester as they just continue to plough on. They're behind some good points right now with a lot of games to go. Preston and Oxford drawing. We're going to have QPR beating Middlesbrough. Yeah. Sheffield United beating West Brom as their winning streak goes on. Norwich winning that game there. Swansea and Stoke drawing, and then Watford losing to Wrexham. With 10 games to go, that's 10 games to go, Ipswich are 12 points clear and on 91 points. They can finish the season on 121 points. That will be insane. Sheffield United, dominating what they can do, 79 points. Southampton have caught up to a bit. Coventry not too far behind. Wrexham are now in the playoff spots. Leicester are just outside of them. Millwall, West Brom can still chase it down relegation zone. Blackburn a lot closer than they want to be. Oxford as well. Preston. 10 games to go. There's a lot that can still change. There's a lot can still change in 10 games to go. So let's see what can change in between now and game week 41 as Birmingham and QPR draw. Leicester beating Bristol. Millwall beating Derby. A win for Norwich against Sheffield United there. And Portsmouth beating Swansea. Sheffield Wednesday getting a result against Watford. Stoke getting beat by Ipswich as Ipswich, continue to push on for what would be an incredible season. Wrexham winning their games there. Coventry win their game against Preston. Middlesbrough and Charlton. Middlesbrough win their game. Oxford getting a draw with Blackburn, and then West Brom beating Southampton. Birmingham against Sheffield United, as Birmingham get a draw out of them. Coventry drawing with Southampton. Leicester then win their game against QPR. Middlesbrough drawing their game. Millwall win that game. Yeah, close results there. Charlton win their game against Oxford. Portsmouth and Derby drawing 2-2. Sheffield Wednesday getting beat by Ipswich. Ipswich chasing every single point they can get here. West Brom beating Hull, and then Wrexham beating Swansea. Getting a result against a Southern team there. Welsh team, they'll love that. Blackburn to draw with Middlesbrough. Bristol beating West Brom. Charlton beating Norwich. Derby beating Birmingham. Hull and Wednesday. Hull beating Wednesday. Ipswich beating Millwall. I think that gets them 100 points now. As Preston draw with Stoke. QPR beat Portsmouth. A big win there for Sheffield United against Wrexham, and then Southampton beating them. Swansea getting beat by Cov, and Watford drawing with Leicester. Birmingham beat Blackburn again there. Charlton and Bristol City. Bristol win the game. Coventry beat Derby. Leicester beating Preston. Middlesbrough beating Millwall. Norwich drawing with Portsmouth, another draw on the board. Oxford beating Hull. QPR beating Watford. Sheffield United win their game. Southampton beat Ipswich but unjust. And Stoke beating Sheffield Wednesday, as West Brom beat Wrexham. On to game week 41, and we'll see where we're at this game week, because I feel like things have changed around the table. Bristol actually beating Sheffield United there. Derby beating Stoke, yep, is fair. Hull drawn with Coventry. Ipswich, a laid back Ipswich now, drawing 2-2 with Birmingham. Millwall beating Norwich. Oxford winning away against Portsmouth. Preston beaten by QPR 3-2 there. Wednesday losing to Leicester. Swansea drawing 2-2 Middlesbrough. Watford and Charlton 0-0. I don't think we've done a single 0-0 on this yet. And then Wrexham losing to Southampton. Calculated table now. Ipswich are on 101 points with 15 points left to get for them, and they've not even reached 100 goals yet. They've not even reached 100 goals because they've not done many crazy results on this one. Sheffield United can still reach 101 points as well, to be fair. Southampton can still reach 100 points. I don't think they are, but they can. The gap between promotion spots has gone to 5 points now, so it's a bit more of a gap for them to get to. But Wrexham are the only team that's really in contention for chasing the playoff spots with the final games to go. The relegation spots can also be decided with 15 points still to be decided. It's up to 16th to be relegated. Portsmouth are just safe, yeah. But Swansea could even still finish bottom of the league. We'll wait and see what happens over the next 2 games. What happens there? Because Birmingham beating Wrexham is huge, and it's probably an end to Wrexham's chase for anything. Coventry are not letting go of any chase that they've got ongoing for playoff spots, as Leicester win their game against Swansea. Let's see, who's dropped? Millwall's the one that's dropped the most, isn't it? Middlesbrough and Portsmouth drawing. Norwich beating Ipswich. Ipswich now relaxed, knowing that they need 1 point to win the league, basically. Oxford drawing with Watford. QPR beating Bristol. Sheffield United beating Hull. Southampton beating Derby. Going to have Stoke drawing with Blackburn, and then West Brom beating Millwall. Blackburn then in the next game getting beat by Coventry, so they're not letting anything slip now. Norwich win their game. Derby drawing with Oxford. We're going to have Hull beating Birmingham. Ipswich beating Middlesbrough. Millwall against QPR. Millwall drawing with QPR 3-3. Portsmouth actually beating Leicester there. Preston drawing with West Brom. Sheffield Wednesday getting a result against Charlton there. Swansea getting beat by Southampton. Watford and then Wrexham win their game. Try and make the push. There's now 3 games left. Ipswich 104 points with 3 games to go. Southampton are now in the automatic spots, just 1 point ahead of Sheffield United, but don't forget Coventry are still close. Wrexham 2 points off getting into the playoff spots. West Brom 6 points off it. It's not too bad. I mean, Blackburn close to relegation. Stoke, Preston. It could also, 3 points left on there. It could still be up to Swansea. No one is safe in these final few games as Coventry win their game. Middlesbrough beating Sheffield Wednesday. Norwich beating Derby. We're going to have Oxford getting beat by Wrexham. QPR beating Swansea. Southampton beating Bristol is good for Wrexham. That's Stoke beating Millwall on the last day there. Well, or towards the last day. West Brom drawing with Watford. Birmingham beating Preston. We're going to have Charlton getting beat by Ipswich. We're going to have Leicester beating Hull. And then Sheffield United beating Blackburn. Birmingham draw with Bristol. Charlton beating Hull. Coventry beating Wrexham is not good for Wrexham. Leicester winning their game against Millwall. Middlesbrough drawing with Watford. Norwich and Swansea 3-2 to Norwich. Oxford beating Wednesday. QPR drawing with Derby. Sheffield United beating Preston. Southampton beating Blackburn. Stoke winning against Portsmouth. And then West Brom drawing with Ipswich. Ipswich on 108 points, because still equal Birmingham's record on the last day there. It is still down to, Southampton, Sheffield or Coventry could all still get promoted on the last day of the season there. No one's actually broke the 100 goal mark. I mean, 3 teams are probably going to break the 100 goal mark on the last day there, but no one's broke it yet. Blackburn now in the relegation zone for the first time in a year, and Hull, Blackburn, Preston or Sheffield Wednesday could also get relegated. Sheffield Wednesday actually, more wins than quite a few teams and still not in there. Let's wait and see what happens on the last day, I guess, because that's all we can do now. Wrexham just outside of the playoff box. It's down to a goal. A goal is in it between them and Bristol, as Blackburn beat Leicester on the final day. Leicester knowing that they can just rest the team and finish where they finished. Bristol beating Stoke, because Stoke, they can relax now. Derby beating Sheffield United on the last day. Sheffield United cursed into the playoffs. We're going to have Hull beating Norwich there. We're going to have Ipswich drawing with QPR on the last day, only making 109 points. Oh no. Millwall beating Oxford. We're going to have Portsmouth beating Birmingham. Preston getting beat by Southampton. Southampton having a 100-point year as well. Sheffield Wednesday on the last day beating West Brom. Swansea drawing with Charlton. We're going to have Watford get beat by Coventry, and then Wrexham win their game against Middlesbrough 2-0 on the last day. Means, oh my god, Bristol stay in the thing on goals, and then that means Wrexham will have to wait another year before they can get into the playoff spots. Ipswich and Southampton promoted automatically. Coventry, and Sheffield United put on the push on Southampton as well, and there's a big gap there between Leicester and Bristol as well. So Sheffield United versus Leicester and Coventry versus Bristol in the playoffs. I think you'd see a Coventry Sheffield United final and Sheffield United come up. Frank does his best, he tries and tries and tries, but he's just not there. 97 points and not getting automatics is crazy. 96 points and finishing 4th is even crazier. Preston relegated on 34 points. Blackburn got relegated still, despite winning against Leicester on the last day. Still relegated. Oh, that is not good. That is not good at all. Wednesday, winning last day, got relegated still, because you're not done enough for the rest of the season. You can give it on the last day and it not be enough. That is going to be my prediction video for the Championship. That is insane. If you like the video, please leave a like. We'll see more. Subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you do. Catch you on the next one. Jesus Christ.